Tell people you're my bodyguard, my wife said at the embassy gala. Stand behind me and don't talk. I did as she said. Then the ambassador stopped his speech mid-sentence. Apologies, everyone. I just realized we have a very important guest tonight. He walked directly to me and saluted. My wife's face turned pale. Chapter 1, Behind the Curtain. Marvin Ray had learned long ago that the most powerful men in any room were often the quietest. For the past 3 years, he perfected the art of being invisible in his own home. Marvin, did you pick up my dress from the cleaners? Nain's voice echoed from the master bedroom, a room where Marvin no longer slept. He occupied the guest room now had for 18 months, though neither of them acknowledged this arrangement to outsiders. It's hanging in your closet, he called back, flipping another pancake. Saturday mornings were his domain. Cooking, cleaning, managing the mundane machinery of their lives, while Nain prepared for whatever social engagement demanded her presence that weekend. She appeared in the kitchen doorway already dressed in designer athleisure that cost more than most people's monthly rent. At 34, Nain Douglas Ray was objectively beautiful, the kind of polished, carefully maintained beauty that required regular appointments, expensive creams, and a personal trainer. Her dark hair was pulled back in a flawless ponytail. Her makeup subtle but perfect. I need you to drive me to the spa at 10 o'clock, she said, not looking at him as she poured coffee into a travel mug. Then pick me up at 3 o'clock. I have the embassy gala tonight, remember? I remember. How could he forget? She'd mentioned it 47 times in the past week. Oh, and about that. She paused and Marvin caught something in her tone that made him glance up from the stove. Ahmad arranged for me to have A+1. You'll need to come. Marvin set down the spatula carefully. You want me to attend? Well, I can't show up alone. People will talk. Nain's fingers drummed against the counter. But I need you to understand something. This is an important event. The German ambassador is hosting. There will be senators, diplomats, major donors. My position at the Reynolds Foundation depends on making the right impressions. I understand. Do you? Her eyes finally met his cold and assessing because I need you to blend in. Stay in the background. If anyone asks, tell them you're my driver or something. Actually, her face lit up with an idea that made Marvin's stomach tighten. Tell them you're my bodyguard. That sounds better, more prestigious. The pancake on the griddle began to burn. Marvin didn't move to flip it. You want me to pretend to be your bodyguard? It's not pretending, really. You'll be there protecting my interests, won't you? She smiled, the same dazzling smile that had first attracted him 6 years ago at that Georgetown fundraiser. Back then, he'd been transitioning out of government service, attending at a colleague's insistence. She'd been a development coordinator for a mid-sized nonprofit, ambitious and brilliant, and so alive. He'd fallen hard, maybe too hard to notice the signs. There will be a dress code, Nain continued. Black suit, white shirt, black tie. Very simple, very understated. You have that one good Hugo Boss suit. Wear that. And Marvin, please don't try to mingle. Just stand nearby and look professional, like security. Exactly. She grabbed her gym bag, keys jingling. Oh, and we're leaving at 7 sharp. Don't be late. The door closed behind her with a decisive click. Marvin scraped the burnt pancake into the trash and turned off the stove. His appetite had vanished. He walked to his home office, the one room in their DuPont Circle townhouse that Nain never entered. The space was austere. A desk, a chair, a laptop, a small safe built into the wall behind a bookshelf. No photographs, no memorabilia, no evidence of the life he'd lived before. Marvin opened the safe and withdrew a single folder. Inside was a photograph from 12 years ago. Him in dress blue standing between the Secretary of Defense and the Director of National Intelligence. The citation for the intelligence star was framed beneath it. One of 3 he'd earned during his 15 years with the Defense Intelligence Agency. He'd been one of their best field operatives, then one of their youngest strategic analysts. His last posting had been as a senior intelligence liaison to NATO, coordinating counterterrorism operations across 17 countries. He'd briefed presidents, advised generals, and once spent 3 days in a safe house in Ankara, negotiating the release of 6 American hostages. Then he'd met Nain and made a choice. A choice to leave that world behind, to cash in his service for a quiet life. He'd been tired of the violence, the secrets, the constant vigilance. She'd seemed like light and normally in peace. He'd never told her. The work was classified, his record sealed. He'd let her believe he'd been a mid-level State Department analyst. Boring and bureaucratic. In those first years, it hadn't seemed to matter. She'd loved him or he'd thought she did. When had it changed? Gradually, then suddenly, Her promotion to VP of International Programs at the Reynolds Foundation 2 years ago had opened new social circles, new ambitions. Marvin, with his mysterious past and his refusal to leverage non-existent State Department connections, became an embarrassment. A weight holding her back. He'd watched her pull away. Late nights at work, weekends at conferences, new clothes, new friends, new coldness in her eyes when she looked at him. 6 months ago, he'd confirmed what he'd suspected. Ahmad Stein, a senior economic attest at the German embassy, 12 years older than Nain, sophisticated and connected. Marvin had followed her to a hotel in Arlington, watched through telephoto lens as Ahmad kissed her in the parking garage. He'd said nothing, done nothing, just watched and waited. Because Marvin Ray had learned patience in far more dangerous circumstances than a failing marriage. "Tell them you're my bodyguard," she'd said. Marvin closed the folder and locked the safe. Tonight would be interesting. Chapter 2. The Other Woman. The Wolfgang Schaefer Gallery in Georgetown was hosting a private preview and Nain Douglas Ray was in her element. She moved through the crowd with practiced grace. Champagne in hand, her emerald dress catching the light with every turn. "The installation is fascinating," she told Congressman Mitchell Robbins, gesturing at the abstract sculpture dominating the room's center. "The artist is exploring post-colonial identity through Deconstructed." She'd memorized the gallery notes in the car. It didn't matter that she found the sculpture ugly and pretentious. What mattered was that Robbins was on the House Appropriations Committee and his wife sat on 2 foundation boards. Nain darling Phoebe Summers descended with air kisses, her blonde hair styled in perfect waves. Phoebe was her closest friend, though friend was perhaps too strong a word for their relationship. They were allies, partners in social climbing, each using the other to access better circles. "I heard about tonight," Phoebe whispered once they'd separated from Robbins. "Ahmad got you an invitation." "That's huge." "It's nothing," Nain said, but she couldn't quite suppress her smile. The German ambassador's annual gala was legendary. A small exclusive event where real power congregated. Politicians, diplomats, intelligence officials, defense contractors. Her invitation was Ahmed's signal. She belonged in his world now. "Have you told Marvin?" "He'll be there." Foe's perfectly shaped eyebrows rose. "Really? I'm surprised you're bringing him." "I have to bring someone. It would look strange otherwise." Nain took a long sip of champagne. "I've told him to keep a low profile. He'll pose as my security." "That's brilliant." Phoebe laughed. "God, Nain, you're cold." "I love it. It's practical." But Nain felt a small stab of something. Guilt. No, not guilt. Annoyance at the necessity of it. "He's so useless, Phoebe. I don't know what I was thinking when I married him. He has no ambition, no drive. He shuffles around the house like a ghost. Do you know he still cooks dinner every night like we're some suburban couple from the 50s? Why don't you just divorce him?" The question hung in the air. Nain had asked herself the same thing countless times. The optics are bad. Reynolds Foundation values, family values. Half our donors are conservative. A divorce would be complicated. But you're seeing Ahmad discreetly. Very discreetly. Ahmad was married to some German industrialist daughter who lived mostly in Munich. Their arrangement worked. Stolen afternoons at the Four Seasons. Weekend conferences that weren't entirely about conferences. "Once I secure the Chief Strategy Officer position next month, things will be different. Ahmad has connections in Brussels, Geneva. He's promised to help me move into international development at a higher level and then I'll have my own platform, my own reputation. Then I can leave Marvin with minimal damage." Phoebe clinkied her glass against Nain's. To moving up," Nain echoed her phone bust. A text from Ahmad. "Schaefer will be at the gala tonight. Important you make a good impression. He controls 3 foundation endowments." Nain felt a thrill of excitement. Heron Schaefer was a venture capitalist worth $500 million known for his philanthropic giving. Landing him as a donor would be a coup. Another text were the diamond earrings I gave you. She touched her earlobe unconsciously. The earrings were in her safe deposit box. 2-carat studs that had cost more than Marvin made in 6 months at his consulting job. Ahmad had presented them to her after their first weekend together in Paris. A conference that had been 4 days of room service and expensive wine. She texted back. "You're glowing." Phoebe observed. "I'm happy." Nain said and realized it was true. For the first time in years, she felt like she was exactly where she belonged. On the edge of something bigger, something that matched her ambitions. Marvin had been an anchor, dragging her down. Tonight, she'd step into her real life, the one she deserved. She thought of him at home, probably reading or watching television in that sad little guest room. Did he know? Did he suspect? She didn't think so. Marvin was obtuse about emotional things. Always had been. He operated on some different wavelength, observing, but never quite engaging. Stand behind me and don't talk. She told him that morning when explaining the plan for tonight. He just nodded, that infuriatingly blank expression on his face. Good. Let him be furniture for one evening. After tonight, after she'd cemented her relationship with Schaefer and the other power players at the gala, she'd barely need Marvin at all. Chapter 3. The Revelation. The German embassy blazed with light. A neoclassical mansion in Spring Valley that had hosted presidents and premiers. Marvin pulled their Audi up to the valet station at exactly 7:15. Nain had been silent during the drive, checking her makeup repeatedly in the visor mirror. Remember, she said as a valet opened her door. You're my security. Stay close, but not too close. Don't talk unless someone asks you a direct question. And for God's sake, don't embarrass me. Marvin adjusted his tie. The Hugo Boss suit fit perfectly, as it should for something that had cost $3,000 back when he needed to attend NATO functions. I'll do my best. She shot him a warning glance, then swept toward the entrance, her silver gown shimmering. Marvin followed 3 paces behind, his face neutral, his posture relaxed but alert. Old habits. The embassy's ballroom was stunning. Chandeliers casting warm light over cream walls hung with German masterworks. A string quartet playing Mozart in the corner. Perhaps 200 guests circulated the cream of Washington's power elite. Marvin recognized a dozen faces from cable news, several from his old classified briefings. Nain, a silver-haired man in a perfectly tailored tuxedo, approached, arms extended. Ahmad Stein. Marvin had seen photographs, but in person the man carried himself with the easy confidence of inherited privilege. You look ravishing, Ahmad. Nain accepted his embrace, holding it a fraction too long. Thank you again for arranging this. Ahmad's eyes flicked to Marvin, dismissive and brief. Your associate, my security, Nain said quickly. Marvin, this is Ahmad Stein, senior economic attest. Ahmad, this is Marvin, my bodyguard. She couldn't even say his last name. Something cold settled in Marvin's chest. A pleasure, Ahmad said without offering his hand. To Nain. Come, you must meet Ambassador Taylor. He's been looking forward to this. They moved away. Marvin followed, maintaining his distance, playing his role. He watched Nain bloom under the attention of powerful men. Watched her laugh and charm and effortlessly deploy the intelligence he'd once admired. She was good at this, brilliant. Even in another world, they might have been partners. That's Nain Douglas Ray. Someone murmured nearby. Rising star at Reynolds Foundation. They say she's being groomed for Chief Strategy Officer. Who's the stern-look fellow following her? Security, I heard. Probably just for appearances. Marvin's expression didn't change. He accepted a water from a passing server and positioned himself near a column where he could observe the room. 23 security personnel. His mind catalogued automatically. 8 exits. 12 cameras. 3 plainclothes Secret Service. Someone very important was in attendance. Marvin Ray. The voice came from behind him. Marvin turned to find a man in his 60s, barrel-chested with iron gray hair and sharp blue eyes. Dallas Stone. They'd worked together on 3 operations, the last one in Istanbul 7 years ago. Dallas, Marvin said quietly. Didn't expect to see you here. Massey security consultant these days. Boring as hell compared to the old days, Dallas clasped his shoulder. What are you doing here? Last I heard, you'd gone completely dark. Domestic bliss and all that. Something like that. Dallas followed Marvin's gaze to where Nain stood in a circle of diplomats, laughing at something Ahmad had said. That's your wife. Yes. Oh. Dallas read the situation instantly. He'd always been perceptive. I'm sorry, brother. Don't be. I knew what I was walking into tonight. Did you? Dallas's voice dropped lower. Because you should know Ahmad Stein isn't just a diplomat. German Federal Intelligence Service flagged him 6 months ago. Nothing confirmed, but there are questions about his finances. Money moving through unusual channels. We think he might be facilitating something, though we haven't nailed down what. Marvin's attention sharpened. Is he dangerous? Probably not physically, but he's dirty somehow. Bad news for anyone close to him. Dallas paused. Including your wife. Before Marvin could respond, a stir rippled through the crowd. The string quartet fell silent. Ambassador Robert Taylor, distinguished in his dress uniform, stepped to the center of the ballroom with a microphone. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us this evening, Taylor began, his voice carrying easily across the space. Tonight, we celebrate the enduring friendship between Germany and the United States and honor those who work tirelessly to maintain. Marvin half listened, his mind processing what Dallas had told him. Ahmad Stein, dirty money, Nain in the middle of it. This was worse than a simple affair. And I must apologize, Ambassador Taylor said, his tone shifting. I've just realized we have a very important guest in attendance tonight, and I would be remiss not to acknowledge him. The ambassador's eyes swept the room and locked onto Marvin. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my genuine honor to recognize the presence of Marvin Ray. The room went silent. 200 faces turned toward him. Marvin felt Nain stare like a laser, saw her face drain of color across the ballroom. Ambassador Taylor walked directly to him, and before Marvin could speak, the ambassador saluted a formal military salute that demanded Marvin return it on instinct. Sir Taylor said, I had the privilege of serving under your strategic guidance during the 2019 Baltic exercises. Your intel probably saved 30 lives, including mine. The room erupted in murmurs. Dallas grinned beside him. Marvin saw Nain's mouth fall open, saw Ahmad Stein's confused frown. I'm retired, Ambassador, Marvin said quietly. Once a sentinel, always a sentinel, Taylor replied, using the nickname for top-tier DI analysts. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to properly introduce Marvin Ray. Colonel Ray served 15 years with the Defense Intelligence Agency, earning 3 intelligence stars and the Defense Superior Service Medal. He was one of our finest strategic analysts and field coordinators. Instrumental in over 40 successful operations across 17 countries. His work has been classified for obvious reasons, but those of us who know. Sir, thank you for your service. The applause was thunderous. Senators approached to shake his hand. The German defense minister appeared from nowhere, speaking rapid German that Marvin understood perfectly, thanking him for his work on NATO operations. A general he briefed in Qatar embraced him. Through it all, Marvin kept his eyes on Nain. She stood frozen. The glass of champagne trembling in her hand. Ahmad had taken a step away from her, his expression calculating and cold. Around them, people whispered and stared. Phoebe Summers, standing beside Nain, looked between them with dawning horror. You told me to tell people I was your bodyguard. Marvin said when he finally reached Nain's side, his voice too quiet for others to hear. I did what you asked. You were a colonel? Nain's voice shook. Defense intelligence. You told me you were a mid-level analyst for state. You never asked for details. I couldn't share them anyway. Classified. He watched her try to process this. Watched her social calculations running behind her eyes. But you're right about one thing. I have been protecting you, just not the way you thought. Ahmad materialized. His charm turned to ice. Nain, darling, perhaps we should discuss. Mr. Stein, Marvin said pleasantly. Or should I say Herr Stein? I wonder what the Federal Intelligence Service would make of your little money laundering operation through the Schaefer gallery. Did you think no one was watching? Ahmed's face went white. I don't know what. Harlan Schaefer's gallery isn't just showing art. It's a front for moving untraceable funds into U.S. political campaigns. You've been facilitating it through your diplomatic immunity. Marvin's voice remained conversational, but his eyes were steel. I've known for 3 months. I have documentation, bank records, encrypted communications, everything. You're bluffing. Ahmad hissed. I spent 15 years hunting people smarter than you. Try me. Nain's champagne glass slipped from her fingers, shattering on the marble floor. Heads turned. Ambassador Taylor started toward them, concern on his face. Marvin leaned close to Nain, close enough that only she could hear. You wanted me to be your bodyguard. I've been protecting you from yourself. But that ends tonight. He turned and walked away, leaving his wife standing in the wreckage of her carefully constructed world. The war had begun. Chapter 4. Dismantling the facade. Marvin didn't go home that night. He drove to a small apartment in Alexandria he'd kept under his old security clearance. A bullet hole Nain didn't know existed. Inside, he opened his laptop and began typing. The first email went to Dallas Stone. Need to talk. Secure line tomorrow. The second went to an old colleague at the Treasury Department's Financial Crimes Enforcement Network. Remember Istanbul? I'm cashing in that favor. Need deep background on Ahmad Stein and Harlan Schaefer. Suspected money laundering through art sales. The third surprisingly went to his lawyer. Draft divorce papers grounds adultery. Need them ready but not filed yet. By dawn responses had come in. Dallas would meet him at noon. Treasury was already investigating Schaefer. Marvin's intel would accelerate their timeline. The lawyer had questions but would comply. Marvin showered, changed into jeans and a sweater, and felt something he hadn't felt in years. Purpose. His phone buzzed constantly. Nain. 23 calls, 14 texts. He read the first few. How could you humiliate me like that? Everyone is talking about this. Where are you? We need to talk right now. This is insane. You've ruined everything. Nothing about being sorry. Nothing about Ahmad. Just anger that her plans had been disrupted. One text from a number he didn't recognize. Mr. Ray, this is Phoebe Summers. We should talk. I know things about Nain you need to hear. Interesting. Rats abandoning ship. By 10 a.m., Marvin was at a coffee shop in Old Town, meeting with his lawyer, Scotty Singh, a razor-sharp litigator who'd once helped Marvin untangle a classified legal mess involving a foreign asset. Your wife is calling my office non-stop, Scotty said, sliding papers across the table. She wants to know why you've engaged divorce counsel. Did you tell her? Attorney-client privilege. I told her nothing. Scotty tapped the documents. But Marvin, you need to understand if this goes to court, everything comes out. Your service record, her affair, all of it. Are you prepared for that? I've been prepared for 3 years. Marvin signed the first page. This marriage has been over for a long time. I just needed her to realize it first. She's going to fight dirty. She doesn't know what dirty is. Scotty smiled. I forgot who I was dealing with. So, what's the play? The truth. Document everything. I want discovery to be devastating. Financial records, phone logs, hotel receipts, her affair with Ahmad Stein needs to be undeniable. And Stein, the allegations from last night. I have evidence, Marvin said. But I'm not using it in the divorce. That's bigger. That's federal. You're going to destroy him separately. I'm going to let him destroy himself. I'm just going to make sure the right people are watching when he does. At noon, Marvin met Dallas at a secure facility near Fort Belvois. Inside a safe, sensitive compartmented information facility. They could talk freely. You stirred up a hornet's nest last night, Dallas said, pulling up files on a computer screen. Half the intelligence community is buzzing. The Sentinel returns and all that. Some people are very interested in why you came out of retirement. I didn't come out of retirement. I defended myself at a party. Sure. Dallas didn't look convinced. So, let's talk about Ahmad Stein. We've had him on our radar for 8 months. The man's a mid-level economic attess, but he's living way above his means. Penthouse in Roslyn art collection worth millions. Expensive mistress. My wife. Sorry, man. Dallas pulled up a photo of the Schaefer gallery. This is where it gets interesting. Harlan Schaefer runs a legitimate gallery, but we think it's a sophisticated layering operation. Here's how it works. Foreign money comes in to purchase art at inflated prices. The art never moves, or it moves in circles between shell corporations. The money gets cleaned then donated to political campaigns as American funds. It's technically legal because it's so layered. But Stein is facilitating. We think he's the connection point. He has diplomatic immunity. Can move money across borders without scrutiny. He introduces wealthy foreign nationals to Schaefer. They buy art. Money gets cleaned. Politicians get funded. Everyone's happy except the American people who don't know their elections are being bought. Marvin studied the screen. You have proof. Circumstantial. Nothing that would hold up in court. Stein's smart. He uses encrypted apps. Never puts anything in writing. Always has plausible deniability. What if someone could get inside? Dallas looked at him sharply. Inside where? Schaefer's operation. Someone they trust. Someone with a reason to need money laundering. Are you suggesting what I think you're suggesting? Marvin smiled for the first time in days. I'm a recently exposed intelligence officer whose marriage just imploded publicly. I'd be angry, vindictive, maybe looking for ways to monetize my skills and connections. Maybe willing to bend some rules. Jesus, Marvin, you want to pose as a corrupt ex-spook? It's the perfect cover. Schaefer and Stein know I have secrets, access, knowledge. They're probably terrified of what I might do. But if I come to them, if I make them think I'm looking for a payday, they'll bring me in. People like them always think everyone's as dirty as they are. This is incredibly dangerous. I've done worse for less. Dallas leaned back, thinking it would have to be unofficial. We can't sanction an operation like this. If it goes sideways, I'm a private citizen acting on my own. Treasury and FBI can use what I find, but I'm not an agent. I'm just a very pissed off ex-husband who happens to have skills. Nain's involved with Stein. If you burn him, you burn her. She made her choice. Dallas studied him for a long moment. You're not doing this just for revenge. No, Marvin admitted. I'm doing it because it's right. Stein and Schaefer are undermining our democracy. They're using my wife to legitimize themselves, giving them cover in social circles. They need to be stopped. The fact that it also destroys the people who betrayed me is just efficient. Chapter 5. The Approach. 3 days after the gala, Marvin returned to the townhouse. Nain's car was in the driveway. Inside, he found her in the living room with Phoebe Summers. Both women looked up when he entered. Nain's face a mask of rage. Phoebe's expression harder to read. Where the hell have you been? Nain stood, her hands clenched. You disappear for 3 days. You humiliate me in front of everyone who matters. You spread lies about Ahmad. I didn't lie about anything. You accused him of money laundering. He could sue you for slander. He won't. Marvin set his keys on the table because it's true. And filing a lawsuit would open him up to discovery. His lawyers have probably already told him that. Nain's face flushed. You bastard. You couldn't stand that I was finally succeeding. That I'd found someone who actually appreciated. Phoebe, Marvin interrupted, looking at the blonde woman. Did you tell her yet? Phoebe shifted uncomfortably. Tell me what? Nain spun to face her friend. I'm sorry, Nain. Phoebe said quietly. But you need to know. Ahmad is using you. He's not going to leave his wife. He never was. What are you talking about? I overheard him 2 nights ago at the Watergate. He was on the phone with someone speaking German. I understood enough to know he was laughing about the American girl who thinks she's going to Brussels with him. Foe's voice was genuinely sad. He called you his useful idiot. Said you'd served your purpose giving him access to foundation donors. Nain's face crumpled. That's not your lying. You're both lying because you're jealous. I'm not jealous, Phoebe said. I'm trying to save you from making a huge mistake. Ahmad Stein is bad news, Nain. And Marvin was right. There's something illegal going on. The FBI has been asking questions at the gallery. Harlan Schaefer fired his entire accounting staff yesterday. Marvin watched his wife process this. Saw the moment her fury turned to fear. The FBI? They're investigating. Marvin confirmed. And everyone associated with Schaefer and Stein is going to be questioned, including you. I didn't do anything. You accepted expensive gifts from Stein. You attended meetings with Schaefer. You introduced them to Reynolds Foundation donors. At best, you look naive. At worst, you look complicit. Nain sank onto the couch. This can't be happening. It is happening. Marvin sat across from her, his voice gentler than it had been in years. And I'm going to help you. She looked up, suspicious. Why would you help me? Because, believe it or not, I don't want to see you go to prison. You were stupid and selfish, but I don't think you knew what Stein was really doing. It wasn't entirely true. Marvin's feelings were far more complicated, but he needed her cooperation. If you're smart, you'll cooperate with the investigation. Tell them everything you know. I don't know anything. You know more than you think. Conversations with Ahmad, meetings at the gallery, names of people he introduced you to. All of it matters. Phoebe leaned forward. Marvin's right. Nain. If you want to come out of this without criminal charges, you need to get ahead of it. Be a witness, not a target. And my job, my reputation already damaged, Marvin said bluntly. The question is whether you want it to be temporarily damaged or permanently destroyed. Nain buried her face in her hands. Watching her, Marvin felt an unexpected pang of sympathy. She'd made terrible choices, but she was also a victim. Stein had manipulated her, used her ambitions against her, but his sympathy only went so far. There's something else, he said. I filed for divorce. Nain's head snapped up. What? My lawyer will be serving you papers next week. Grounds are adultery. It won't be contested. You'll get a fair settlement. The townhouse, half the marital assets. But our marriage is over. For a long moment, Nain just stared at him. Then, unexpectedly, she laughed. A harsh broken sound. You know what's funny? I spent 3 years thinking you were nobody. A failure. Someone holding me back, and the whole time you were. She shook her head. Who are you, Marvin? Really? Someone you never bothered to know. That's not fair. It's completely fair. Marvin stood. I'll be staying at another location until the divorce is finalized. My lawyer will be in touch. In the meantime, my advice, talk to the FBI. Cooperate fully. Distance yourself from Ahmad and Schaefer immediately. And then what? Then you rebuild. You're smart, Nain. You'll land on your feet. Just not with me. He walked out, leaving her sobbing on the couch, Phoebe's arm around her shoulders. Phase 1 complete. Chapter 6. The Trap. 2 weeks later, Marvin received the call he'd been expecting. Mr. Ray. The voice was smooth, cultured. This is Harlan Schaefer. I believe we have mutual acquaintances. Mr. Schaefer. Marvin put his coffee down, glancing at Dallas across the table. They were in the secure apartment. Everything being recorded. I'm surprised to hear from you. I'd like to discuss some business opportunities. I think we could help each other. I'm not interested in art. Not art information. I understand you have access to certain sensitive materials from your time in government service. Materials that some people would pay handsomely to review. There it was. They were trying to flip him, turn him into an asset. Exactly as planned. I'm listening. Not on the phone. There's a restaurant in Midburg. The Red Fox in Thursday evening, 8 o'clock. Come alone. The line went dead. Dallas whistled low. They're moving fast. That's panic. Stein must have told them I was a threat. They want to either buy me off or compromise me. Once they think I'm dirty, they'll relax. Marvin checked his watch. Thursday gives me 3 days to prepare. Treasury wants to coordinate. If you can get Schaefer on record discussing classified information, that's espionage. We can move immediately. No. Marvin shook his head. This has to play out. If we arrest him now, Stein walks. Diplomatic immunity. And anyone else in their network disappears. I need to get deeper. Find all the players. You're talking about weeks of undercover work. Maybe months. I've done worse. Thursday evening found Marvin driving through Virginia horse country to Midburg. The Red Fox Inn was elegant and historic, the kind of place that valued discretion. Schaefer had chosen well. Harlan Schaefer himself was waiting in a private dining room. A man in his early 50s, silver-haired and distinguished with cold gray eyes that sized up Marvin immediately. Another man sat beside him, younger, harder Raph O'Ryan, who Marvin recognized from intelligence briefings as a known fixer for foreign interests. Colonel Ray Schaefer said, "Thank you for coming." "Just Marvin. I'm retired." "Of course." Schaefer poured wine. "Expensive Bordeaux. I'll be direct. Recent events have been unfortunate. Your wife's involvement with Ahmad created complications. My soon-to-be ex-wife. Yes, I understand divorce can be costly. Child support, alimony, legal fees, no children, and the settlement is reasonable." Schaefer's smile didn't reach his eyes. "Nevertheless, a man of your talents and experience must be considering his financial future. Government pensions are notoriously inadequate. What are you proposing?" "Consultation work. You have knowledge, contacts, clearance, all very valuable. I have clients who would pay well for strategic advice." "What kind of clients?" "Foreign governments, private security firms, corporations with international interests. All legitimate, all legal." Marvin sipped his wine, playing skeptical. "That sounds like lobbying. I'd need to register." "There are ways around that." Raffo spoke for the first time, his voice grilly. "You'd be consulting on hypothetical scenarios, academic exercises, nothing that would require disclosure. Hypothetical scenarios about classified operations. Your experience is valuable. What you've seen, what you know about how our intelligence services operate, that knowledge has worth." Marvin sat down his glass. "You want me to betray my country?" "We want you to be realistic," Schaefer said smoothly. "The government you served has moved on without you. They've classified your achievements, given you no public recognition, left you to a modest retirement. Meanwhile, other people profit from information every day. Why shouldn't you? Because it's illegal. Only if you share actual classified material, analysis, methodology, tradecraft. That's gray area. Entirely defensible." Marvin pretended to consider. "How much are we talking about?" "Initial consultation $50,000. Ongoing relationship, another $50 per quarter. More for specific projects. $200,000 a year." It was a good offer. Designed to tempt for someone actually desperate or bitter. "It might work. I need to think about it." "Of course." Schaefer slid a card across the table. "But don't think too long. The FBI has been asking questions. You're either with us where we can protect you or you're exposed. Is that a threat?" "It's reality. Your wife's involvement with Ahmad has already drawn scrutiny. You were seen at his apartment building. There are photographs. If investigators decide you were complicit in any of Ahmad's activities." "I wasn't. We know that. But perception matters. Unless you have powerful friends willing to vouch for you." Schaefer spread his hands. "These investigations can take on a life of their own." Marvin stood. "I'll be in touch." Outside, he sat in his car for 5 minutes, then drove to a 24-hour diner 20 meters away. Dallas was waiting in a booth at the back. "They took the bait," Marvin said. "They're trying to compromise me. Offering money for classified information." "Did you record it?" Marvin handed over a thumb drive. Everything. They threatened me with the FBI investigation. Tried to make it sound like I'd be implicated in Ahmed's crimes unless I cooperated with them. That's conspiracy, attempted bribery, and intimidation. We can move now. Not yet. Schaefer mentioned clients and protection. There are more people involved. I need to meet them. Dallas looked worried. The deeper you go, the harder it is to get out clean. I know, but we have to finish this. What neither of them saw was the car parked at the far end of the diner's lot, Ahmad Stein behind the wheel, watching them through binoculars, his expression dark with fury. Chapter 7. Convergence. Ahmad Stein made his decision in the early hours of Friday morning. He'd watched Marvin Ray meet with Dallas Stone, clearly a handler, and knew he'd been played. Ray was working with federal law enforcement, probably had been since the Gala. Everything was unraveling. He couldn't run. Too visible. Too many watchers. But he could still salvage something. Heron would have to be sacrificed along with Ralpho and the other visible players. Ahmad had always kept himself insulated. Always had contingencies, including one desperate final play. He called Nain at 6 a.m. She answered groggy. Ahmad, I told you not to contact me. I need to see you today. It's urgent. I'm done. Ahmad. My lawyer said, your lawyer doesn't know that you transferred $75,000 to my account last year. Silence. Then that was a loan for your son's medical treatment. You said, I said a lot of things, but in writing that transfer looks like payment for services rendered, especially when the FBI starts connecting dots. You're threatening me. I'm giving you a chance. Meet me at the Toac Overlook. Noon, come alone. 1 hour, then we never speak again. He hung up before she could respond. Marvin learned about the meeting from Phoebe, who called him at 9 a.m. in a panic. Nain just texted me. Phoebe said she's going to meet Ahmad at some park. She sounded scared. Marvin, I think he threatened her. Where? Toac Overlooked Park. Noon. Marvin checked his watch. 3 hours. He called Dallas. We need to move. Ahmad is panicking. Meeting with Nain today. If he's desperate enough to reach out to her, he might try something stupid. How stupid? Worst case, she's a liability who can testify against him. He has diplomatic immunity. He could leave the country any time, but not if there's a witness who can destroy his defense. Jesus, you think he'd hurt her? I don't know, but I'm not taking chances. By 11:30, Marvin was positioned in the park, concealed in the tree and above the overlook point. Dallas had a team on standby, but they couldn't move without cause. Ahmed's diplomatic status made him untouchable unless they caught him in a crime. Nain arrived first, parking her Audi and walking to the overlook platform. She looked thinner than she had 2 weeks ago, her face drawn. Marvin felt an unexpected surge of protectiveness. Ahmad appeared 10 minutes later, alone. They stood at opposite ends of the platform, the Toac rushing below. You didn't need to threaten me, Nain said. I was never going to testify against you. Your cooperation isn't optional anymore. Ahmed's voice was cold. The FBI has frozen Schaefer's accounts. They've arrested Rolfo. They'll come for me next, but I have immunity. The question is, what story gets told? What do you want? I want you to take responsibility. Say you introduced me to Schaefer, helped facilitate connections, but you believed everything was legitimate. You had no knowledge of money laundering. You were the innocent dupe. That's the truth, is it? You took expensive gifts. You spent weekends in Paris on my dime. You introduced me to a dozen foundation donors who ended up contributing to campaigns we were funding. You're not innocent, Nain. You're just ignorant. I loved you, she said quietly. Ahmad laughed. You loved what I represented. Access, power, sophistication. You were useful, Nain. That's all. You're a bastard. I'm a realist. You pulled out a folder, sign this affidavit. It says, you introduced Schaefer and me, but had no knowledge of financial impropriety. It protects both of us. My lawyer said, your lawyer is wrong. If you don't sign this, I'll make sure investigators know about every meeting, every introduction, every donation you facilitated. I'll bury you to save myself. Nain took the folder with shaking hands. Where do I sign? That's when Marvin stepped out of the tree lane. Don't sign anything, Nain. Both of them spun. Ahmed's hand moved inside his jacket toward a gun. Marvin's instinct screamed. Ahmad. Marvin's voice cut through the air. Don't. Ahmed's hand froze. For a long moment, they stared at each other across the platform. Colonel Ray, Ahmad said finally. I should have known. Is this where you reveal you've been recording everything? Very clever. This is where you make a choice. You can try to run, But you won't make it to your car. You can try to hurt Nain, but I won't let that happen. Or you can surrender. Those are your only options. I have diplomatic immunity, which protects you from prosecution, not from evidence gathering. We have everything, Ahmad. The account transfers, the communications with Schaefer, the names of every foreign national who funneled money through the gallery. Your immunity means you'll be declared persona non grata and expelled, but your network will be dismantled and everyone you worked with will face justice, including her. Ahmad gestured at Nain. She'll cooperate with investigators. She'll testify. She'll take responsibility for her mistakes. Marvin looked at his wife, but she's not going to be your scapegoat. Ahmed's hand moved again, and this time Marvin didn't wait. He covered the distance in 3 strides, catching Ahmed's wrist as the gun cleared his jacket. They grappled the weapon between them. And then Marvin executed a simple wrist lock that sent the gun clattering across the platform. Dallas and his team erupted from concealment, weapons drawn. Federal agents on the ground. Ahmad dropped, hands behind his head, his face twisted with rage. Diplomatic immunity, he gasped. You can't arrest me. We're not arresting you, Dallas said. We're securing a crime scene. Attempted assault with a deadly weapon witnessed by multiple federal officers. Your embassy will be notified. You'll be expelled within 48 hours. As they cuffed him, more for show than enforcement, Ahmad locked eyes with Marvin. You destroyed your own wife to get to me. No, Marvin said quietly. I saved her from you. Chapter 8, Fallout. The next 72 hours were a media firestorm. Ahmad Stein expelled from the United States. Harlan Schaefer arrested on multiple counts of money laundering and campaign finance violations. Raffo Ryan in federal custody cooperating with investigators. And Marvin Ray, the mysterious ex-intelligence officer who'd unraveled the entire conspiracy. Nain sat in a conference room at the FBI field office, her lawyer beside her, answering questions for the 4th time. She looked exhausted but composed. Mrs. Ray, the assistant U.S. attorney said, you understand that your cooperation is the only reason we're not pursuing charges. I understand. The evidence shows you were manipulated, but you also benefited materially from Mr. Stein's gifts. You'll need to forfeit anything of value you received. Already done. Nain slid a list across the table. Jewelry, clothes, travel expenses, everything I could document. Total value approximately $90,000, and you'll testify against Schaefer if it goes to trial. Yes. The prosecutor nodded. Then we're done here. Stay in the area. Expect to be called before the grand jury, but you're free to go. Outside, Nain found Marvin waiting in the parking garage. They hadn't been alone together since the Overlook. Thank you, she said, for everything. You could have let Ahmad threaten me. You could have let me go down with him. No, I couldn't. Why not? After everything I did to you, Marvin leaned against his car. Because I still remember the woman I fell in love with. The one who wanted to change the world, make it better. She's still in there under all the ambition and mistakes. Nain's eyes filled with tears. I don't know if she is. Then find her. He pulled out an envelope. The divorce papers. Your lawyer has a copy. I'm not asking for much. Split the assets. You keep the house. Clean break. You're being very generous. I'm being fair. He paused. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. For what? You didn't do anything wrong. I'm sorry I wasn't enough. Whatever you were looking for, whatever made you turn to Ahmad, I couldn't give you that. Maybe if I'd been more present, less closed off, things would have been different. Don't, Nain said fiercely. Don't take responsibility for my choices. I was selfish and stupid and cruel. You tried. I didn't see you. I didn't see how lucky I was. They stood in silence for a moment. The weight of 6 years settling between them. What will you do now? Marvin asked. Reynolds Foundation asked for my resignation. I gave it. Fo's been helpful. She has connections at a smaller nonprofit. It's a step down, but it's a start. Nain managed a sad smile. Turns out I'm better at building things up than climbing over people. You'll land on your feet. Will I? She looked at him seriously. Marvin, can I ask you something? When did you know about Ahmad and me? 6 months ago. Why didn't you say anything? Because I'd already lost you. Confronting you wouldn't have brought you back. It would have just escalated things. I thought maybe you'd come to your senses, realize what you were doing. I was a fool. You were human. We all make mistakes. Nain stepped forward impulsively and hugged him. Marvin stood rigid for a moment, then relaxed, returning the embrace. I hope you find someone, she whispered. Someone who sees you. Who appreciates what I was too blind to see. Take care of yourself, Nain. She pulled back, wiping her eyes, then walked to her car. Marvin watched her drive away, feeling the chapter close. At a secure facility across town, Schaefer sat in an interrogation room, his lawyer beside him. The case against him was overwhelming. Money laundering, campaign finance violations, conspiracy. But he had one card left to play. My clients, he said to the prosecutors. I'll give you names. Foreign nationals, shell corporations, politicians who knowingly accepted dirty money, everything in exchange for reduced sentence, minimum security facility, protection. The prosecutors exchanged glances. We'll consider it. Start talking. Schaefer talked for 6 hours. By the end, 12 more investigations had been opened, spanning 4 countries, and involving 2 sitting senators, 5 congressional representatives, and dozens of foreign operatives. The scandal would rock Washington for years. But for Marvin Ray, it was already over. Chapter 9. The Sentinel rises. 3 months later, Marvin stood in a small ceremony room at the Pentagon. The gathering was private, just a dozen people, all with high clearances. Ambassador Taylor was there, as was Dallas Stone and the current director of the Defense Intelligence Agency. Colonel Ray, the director, said, "You were awarded the Intelligence Star for your service, but that ceremony was classified. Today, we're here to present you with a 4th star for your actions in Operation Sunset, the dismantling of the Schaefer network." Marvin accepted the medal, knowing it would go back in a safe, classified, and hidden. But the gesture mattered. Your work prevented foreign influence from corrupting dozens of political campaigns, the director continued. You exposed a network that had operated for years, and you did it while protecting an innocent civilian, your wife, from becoming collateral damage. Ex-wife, Marvin corrected gently. The divorce finalized last week. Even so, your integrity throughout this operation was exemplary. The agency would be honored if you'd consider coming back. Not field work, strategic analysis, teaching, mentoring the next generation. Marvin had already decided. Thank you, sir. But no, I think it's time I actually retired. For real this time. What will you do? I have some ideas. That evening, Marvin met Dallas for a drink at a quiet bar in Georgetown. They toasted the successful operation, the dozens of prosecutions underway, the diplomatic nightmare Ahmad had created for Germany by violating his immunity. You could have come back, Dallas said. They meant it. You'd be running the analysis division within a year. I know, but I spent 15 years in the shadows. I think I'd like to try living in the light for a while. And Nain working at a non-profit in Richmond. We exchange emails occasionally. Cordial. She's rebuilding. Still love her. Marvin considered the question. I love who she was, who she could be again. But we're done. That door is closed. So, what's next for the great Marvin Ray? Consulting, actually. Private sector, Dallas. You remember King McDonald from logistics? Sure. Good guy. He's starting a security firm. Legitimate work, corporate risk assessment, executive protection, cybersecurity. Asked if I'd come aboard as a partner. It's interesting work, legal, and I'd be helping people. Sounds boring. Sounds perfect. They drank in comfortable silence. Outside, Washington hummed with its eternal rhythms. Power changing hands, scandals erupting and fading, the machinery of government grinding forward. Marvin's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Mr. Ray, my name is Eugenia O'Connor. Ambassador Taylor suggested I contact you. I run a women's shelter in Anacostia. We've been having security issues and I heard you might be able to help. Pro bono. We don't have much budget. Marvin smiled and typed back. I'd be happy to take a look. When's a good time? New client? Dallas asked. Maybe more than that. Marvin showed him the text. Taylor's got a good heart. He knows I need purpose. You just took down an international conspiracy. That wasn't purpose enough. That was settling accounts. This is building something new. A week later, Marvin walked through the women's shelter in Anacostia. Eugenia O'Connor was 50-some, fierce and tireless, running the facility on grants and donations, providing refuge for women escaping abuse. The building needed better locks, cameras, a panic room. I can't pay you, Eugenia said apologetically. But if you could just advise us on what we need, I can try to fundra. I'll handle it, Marvin said. Pruno, like you said, consider it my contribution. Why would you do that? Because someone very close to me was recently in a situation where she felt trapped and scared. I'd like to think if she'd known about a place like this, she would have had options. Over the next month, Marvin transformed the shelter security, new locks, cameras with night vision, reinforced doors, a safe room. He trained staff on threat assessment, emergency procedures, coordination with police. Eugenia watched him work with growing admiration. You were really a colonel long time ago and you brought down that whole corruption thing with the German embassy with a lot of help. You're a good man, Marvin Ray. I'm trying to be. On his last day at the shelter, as he was packing up his tools, Eugenia approached with a younger woman, mid-20s, dark hair, kind eyes. Marvin, this is my daughter, Wilma Wilson. She's a social worker here. Wilma, this is Colonel Ray. Just Marvin, he said, shaking Wilma's hand. Nice to meet you. Mom's been raving about you for weeks, Wilma said, smiling. Thanks for everything you've done here. You've made a real difference. They talked for a few minutes. Wilma's work with trauma survivors, Marvin's new consulting business. There was an easy rapport, a natural conversation that flowed without effort. Maybe I could take you to dinner. Marvin found himself saying to thank you for your work here. It's important. Wilma's smile widened. I'd like that. As Marvin drove home that evening, his phone rang. Nain. Hey, she said when he answered. I wanted to tell you, I got a promotion, director of programs at Richmond Hope House. It's small, but it's mine. I'll actually be helping people instead of just chasing status. That's great, Nain. Really? And I met someone. Just coffee so far. Nothing serious, but he's nice. Normal a teacher. I'm happy for you. Are you? I wasn't sure if I am, Marvin said and meant it. We both deserve to move forward. What about you? Seeing anyone may be too early to tell. Good. That's good. A pause, Marvin. I'm sorry. I know I said it before, but I don't think you really heard me. I'm so sorry for how I treated you for not seeing what I had. You deserved better. We both did. But we're getting better now. Yeah, we are. Another pause. Take care of yourself. Okay, you too. The call ended. Marvin pulled into his new apartment, smaller than the townhouse, but his, and found himself smiling. The last 3 months had been chaos. But somewhere in the wreckage, he'd found something he'd lost years ago himself. His phone buzzed. A text from Dallas. McDonald's firm is getting a contract to secure embassy events. Guess who requested you specifically? Ambassador Taylor. He says you're the only one he trusts. Another text. This one from Wilma. Friday night. There's a great Italian place in Adams Morgan. Marvin responded to both, then opened his laptop. King McDonald had sent files for their first official client. A tech company worried about corporate espionage. Real work. Legitimate work. Work that mattered. He thought about Nain, about the man he'd been when they'd married. Closed off, secretive, unable to truly connect. About the man he'd become during their slow divorce. Bitter, watchful, alone, and about the man he was now, open, purposeful, building instead of guarding. The Sentinel had spent 15 years in the shadows, protecting people who never knew his name. Then 3 years invisible in his own home, protecting a wife who didn't want his protection. Now, finally, he was stepping into the light, and the light was good.